Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
Welcome back to another edition of Which is Better here on the Rock Nerd Radio Show. As always, my name's Dan. I'm the host of this program. And we're looking at two Iron Man figures today, specifically the Model 09. And I will be looking at two versions of this figure. There are maybe like an asterisk, three versions of this character. The third version that I'm not really looking at today is this one. This was the vintage card Iron Man in this costume, but the boots are significantly thinner, and this figure has the larger boots, kind of like this version. So that's why I'm comparing these two. These two essentially the same thing, minus the shape of the boot, but and a couple different accessories. But I wanted to talk about these two, and you know, I know some people like the boots, some people don't like the boots. My first ever Iron Man comic had Iron Man in this costume. It was actually Rhodey, James Rhodes, under the armor in it. So I was very confused as a kid reading about Tony Stark doing something while simultaneously fighting Fin Fang Foom. So I thought Iron Man was like a robot for a little bit. It kind of messed with my brain until I understood what was going on in that book. But the first round of this is to talk about the paint and overall appearance. And just to say it, this Iron Man came out in the Epic Heroes line of Marvel Legends. It is a number of years old now. I want to say it definitely more than 10. It was like the third or fourth wave that Hasbro put out when they started doing Marvel Legends figures again. This Model 9 comes from the vintage card Iron Man wave, which is currently on store shelves, available wherever you might buy your toys. So, as I was saying, paint and overall appearance. Look, here's the thing. Like, yeah, they both look like Iron Man. This one definitely looks a little larger. And just to bring in another current-sized Marvel Legends into the picture, just so you can see, like, stand up. There we go. The Epic Heroes one is a hair short. You know, he is a little shorter than a regular-sized human character. This one, the vintage card one, definitely looks a little better in terms of size. But there is something else that I want to point out while talking about the paint and overall appearance, and that is really the paint. You know, the Epic Heroes version is this nice, shiny, like fire engine red, and the gold is nice and shiny. It does match a lot of the Iron Man figures that I have on my shelf. I kind of like the shinier paint with the Iron Man figures. This one, while I like, you know, the proportions of this body on the vintage card one, it is it's not as shiny. It's just not. There's no getting around it. It does look cool. It is obviously Iron Man from the reds and yellows, but yeah, it's not as like shiny and bright looking. And honestly, that kind of takes it away a little bit for me. I will say, I do like that the chest emblem is blue on this one. Although this might be a sticker. I don't know if that's painted. Looking at it now, can I focus in on that nicely? There we go. It almost looks more like a sticker. There appears to be some of the edge that it's not covering. I don't know if that's a sticker or that's paint. I'm not going to try to scrape it up. But yeah, like, you know, I do like the blue here. Where this one, I want to say at a time it was gold, and it has since kind of faded. But in order to really make my decision, I got to stand with my gut, and I really like the shinier red and gold armor Iron Man figure. So this might be a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to give round one to our Epic Heroes Iron Man, just because I like that nice metallic gold and red on the figure. I think it does look a little better. My second round is about the overall articulation of these figures, and we're going to look at the Epic Heroes version first. So this version has a head on a ball joint, so it has a little bit of up and down to it, some side to side. There's no movement. I'm going to pop this off real quick. There's no other movement at the ball joint, so you can't really get a lot of up and down. It is pretty much just a stuck pin there that this head is on. So, you know, it's there. It exists. In terms of the body, we do have a little bit of ab crunch for forward and back, and we do have a waist rotation. At the arms, we do have these shoulder pads which don't move with the arms. So if you're moving the arms, you kind of got to get the shoulder pads out of the way. The arms will move out just about that much. And they will move around, but like I said, the shoulder pads do kind of get in the way, and you got to be careful that you don't snap them off. Like, there is plastic scraping as I'm doing that, so do be careful there. Arms do have double elbow, but the size of the gauntlet kind of limits how far you can really bend these. And the wrist will swivel left and right, and it will rotate around fully, just to show the other wrist is open, or the other hand is open, and the wrist will do the same movement there. There is no opening in the hand, so you can't stick any blast effects in there. This was before we were kind of doing that. In terms of the legs, if you watched my recent Which is Better She-Hulk video, I kind of complained about how the She-Hulk figure had weird thigh cuts here. And this one also has it, where you can't really move the leg up unless you twist and then kick up. And it makes, for posing this thing, kind of a pain. I really don't like those joints. I'm glad we moved away from them. But aside from that, there is rotation at the calf there. The knee is double jointed and gets a pretty deep bend in there. There is boot rotation as well, the boot cut. In terms of the feet, there's like a little bit of movement here. You can even see the joint there, but it is very hard to get to move. The boot really does kind of get in the way of that, and the foot does rotate left and right as well. So there is rotation and movement on the foot. It is just very hard to get this figure to really pose into a good position other than kind of just standing here, which is definitely a flaw of the figure. The new version, my retro card one, has a head that can look up and down because the ball joint on the neck does have, that pivot there, so it will move. The head will move all around. So yeah, definitely better head movement. At the body, we do have waist rotation, and we have a bit of a better ab crunch. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a super deep bend, but you get some better movement to it. In terms of the arms, this time the shoulder pads do move with the arm. So when you move the arm around, shoulder pad moves with it. When you move it out, shoulder pad rests on top. It does kind of break up the armor look, but that's going to happen. There is rotation there at the arm, and I forget if I said that this one also has rotation up there at the arm. I may have missed that, but correcting myself now. In terms of the elbow bend, it is still double joint. Again, because of the gauntlet, you don't get a real deep bend, but it is there. It is pinless if that matters to you. And these hands that he currently has do rotate around, and they will swivel in and out. So very similar, but a little nicer because of the way the shoulder pads move. Just to show you, there are also alternate blaster hands, which are not on any kind of swivel. But they will swivel, but they don't pivot at all. So, they are kind of stuck in that blasty position. We'll get to those later. Going down to the legs on this figure, we have our normal joints, so you can just kick the leg out, forward to back, and then side to side without having to twirl a joint all around. But there is rotation right there at the thigh. On mine, it is very tight, so do be careful. I don't know if it's just my sample, but it's there. But, it's good. You don't really want it being loosey-goosey. The legs will bend fully back like that, and it is a deep bend. Not pinless at the legs, but they don't look bad. In terms of the boot, we do have boot cut, and this time on the foot, we have some actual movement because they left a cut here for that joint, so the feet can go up. They can go back just about that far, and they do swivel just a little bit. So really, neither of these is like perfect in terms of articulation, but they have made some improvements, a lot of improvements, for our vintage card Model 9 Iron Man. So he is going to win round 2, the articulation round. Round 3 is about the accessories that these figures come with, and the Epic Heroes line was at a time where Marvel first started doing smaller Build-A-Figures and then no Build-A-Figure pieces. All he came with was this. This is a stand that a lot of Marvel Legends came with, and for a while, I do have a whole bunch of them. Apparently this is a KO, but for a while this is what these were coming with. They worked okay. You could get the peg on the foot, and the idea was they were supposed to be somewhat modular so that you could stack these and then, connect them. You could see like the slots there to connect others. So you could make a cool base. I've never had luck getting any character to actually stand well on these. They tend to fall off very easily. And I found that the stands themselves don't stack all that well. In fact, I'm having trouble. It might be because this is a KO stand, but I'm having trouble even getting Iron Man to stand properly on this stand. So, yeah, that's it in terms of accessories. Not the most exciting thing. My new Model 9 on the vintage card comes with a lot of accessories. First off, you already saw them, but just to bring them back out, we do have our blasty hands. In order to swap them out, you just pull the hand out, put the hand on that you want. And there you go. Now you have a nice blasting hand. And if you're asking what's the point of a blasty hand? Does he have something to blast? Of course he does. First off, there is 2 of these blast effects that you can peg into Iron Man's hand if you wish. Just pop the end of the peg into the hole, and now Iron Man has a blast effect. You can also stick them in his boot. There is a hole in the boot there. You can have him there so it looks like he is flying, if that's the look you'd rather have. It is up to you. But that's not all. He also has these smoke effects, and I believe the smoke effects will also plug into the hands. There is a little peg there, right there at the end of the smoke effect. So you can pop them into the hand. Oop, I'm sorry. I was completely wrong. The peg is right there in the middle of the effect. There we go. So you can pop the effect into the hand like this. So now it looks like he has just shot off some energy rounds at a bad guy, and is now just kind of resting as his armor cools down, which is a neat touch. I do like the kind of smoke effects, if you will, on the energy. The other one, of course, also has a peg there, because you don't necessarily need to have that in like attack mode all the time if you want to utilize some effects. It could just be he's standing there on the shelf, kind of like, hey, he's calm. Maybe he just, beat a character, stopped a villain, and now his armor is rusting, if you will. So I like that. I like that that is the options. Those are the options that you have. So because of everything I just said, I'm going to give my accessory round to this Model 9 Iron Man. I think these accessories are better than, frankly, a stand that didn't work all that well. My 4th round is about the price and availability of these 2 figures. The Epic Heroes one over here on the left of your screen is currently available probably online. It's not going to be something you find in stores. But according to Action Figure 411, he will run you about $18. You can probably find this one in vintage toy stores, online on places like eBay, or just private sellers, or even if you make it out to a comic or toy show. The new one is available in stores, but it is going to cost you $25. Now, I know a lot of people say that they wait for things like from Marvel Legends things to go on sale at Ross, and they get a good deal. They get it for like half the price. I don't know if that's going to happen with this Iron Man figure, specifically in this Iron Man line, just because I haven't seen a lot of these figures on shelves. I know they're there, but normally when I find something, I see just Count Nefaria marked down. I haven't seen any of the Iron Man armors marked down yet. So, or I'm sorry, not marked down, on shelves. I've only really seen Count Nefaria and the Model 1 in gold on shelves. So I'm not going to sit here and say that in a couple months for making this video, this one's going to be easy to get. I don't know if it will be. This might end up being a hard to find figure. So just because this one is cheaper, you want to do a little bit of hunting, but sometimes that's fun. I'm going to say that this one wins round 4 because it is a savings of $7. And if that really matters to you, that might be what you want to do. My 5th and final round is about the display compatibility of this Iron Man armor. And like I said, there are things about both these armors that I like. I do like the color more on this one. I'll be the first to admit that I like the shinier paint more. But I think, like I said, I like the accessories more on this one. It definitely does harken back to how he was drawn in that comic. Like the first time literally the first comic I got was an Iron Man comic with this suit on the cover fighting Fin Fang Foom. So let's bring out a couple other Iron Man armors just to kind of compare, see what they look like. One of my favorite armors is the modular armor, that 90s modular armor. Another armor that I've always been a fan of, even though it might not have been the greatest time in comics, was the Heroes Return Iron Man armor. And I also love the Silver Centurion armor. Always a great armor. I just didn't have time to pull down, or I'll be honest, I forgot to pull down my regular, just like classic Iron Man armor. But sticking all these armors together, they look like they fit pretty well together, except for the fact that our Epic Heroes Iron Man looks significantly shorter than these other armors. Just even if I bring him up to the front, put him right next to Silver Centurion, he is shorter. He is significantly shorter. And you look at the new one from the vintage card, and these guys are standing pretty close next to each other. So round 5, my display compatibility round, is going to this Iron Man, our vintage card one, just because, this is what the scale has become. This is what's going to look better with probably, the rest of your Iron Man figures. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Just because I come to a decision on which version of these figures I think is better doesn't mean you have to agree with me. I would love to hear your feedback, but our vintage card Model 9 definitely wins out on this edition of which is better. I'm not sitting here saying it's the best Iron Man ever, but I think it is definitely an improvement from what we have. And as our Model 9 here, the vintage card one, prepares to do a little surgery onto the Epic Hero's face, I am reminded of something that just happened as literally the day I'm recording this, which made me laugh. When they announced this new one, I kind of thought to myself, hey, you know what? I had bought a second one of this version of Iron Man, and I have the vintage card one. I was like, oh, you know what? I'll use this and that extra one and that vintage card one. I'll turn them into Sentinels from the X-Men video game because that'll be cool. That'll be something neat. And then literally at San Diego Comic-Con today, they announced that they are remolding this into a video game Sentinel. So I guess I don't have to do any customizing now. Hooray! But as always, I would love your thoughts and your feedback on this Iron Man figure. Is this a suit that even has anything, hits your nostalgia in the right way? I would love to find out. Let me know what you think. And until next time, I've been Dan. You've all been pretty awesome. I'll see you around. Well, there we go. What did you think of this video? Sound off in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Remember, we are making a push to get to 700 subscribers here on the channel. If we do that before the HasLab Giant Man arrives, I will be giving away the old Toy Biz Giant Man Build-A-Figure that you've seen on my shelf and things like that. So hit subscribe, leave a comment, hit like if you're so inclined, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.